Don't forget to let me know you guys are out there by liking, subscribing, and coming back every week for new content. What's up, guys? It's Ryan again with Dinner on a Monster. Today's review will be on the film Gehenna, I believe is how it's pronounced. Gehenna, something like that. It's a film from 2016, and it has a few recognizable people in it. I'm sorry that I'm doing this late. I had some issues yesterday where I just could not, I had time to watch a movie. I just did not have time to do the review. I really don't want to get into it. And also, I wanted to say condolences to the families of Keith Flint of the band Prodigy and of Luke Perry from 90210 in the original Buffy the Vampire Slayer movie. It's definitely terrible losses, and my heart goes out to their families. I grew up, knowing about both of them. I was a 90s teenager, an 80s kid and a 90s teenager, and so it just seems like a lot of things that I grew up with in the 90s are, a lot of the people are passing away. We lost Lane Staley from Alice in Chains in 2002. We lost Chris Cornell from Soundgarden. We lost Scott Weiland from Stone Temple Pilots. And now we've lost Keith Flint from Prodigy. And so again, my heart goes out to their families because that's just horrible. And the fans, of course. But anyway, so now that that's done, I want to get on with this episode. Like I said, the name of the movie was Gehenna. I don't know, I found it on Netflix and I'd been tempted to watch it, but I just never got around to it. It's from 2016. A few familiar names you might notice. The first one I noticed was Lance Henrikson, which most of you may know him from the Alien series. He's in this. He's a very big part. In fact, if you blink, you'll miss him type thing. It's more of a cameo than it is anything else. Another is Doug Jones, which a lot of people remember Doug Jones from Hellboy and Pan's Labyrinth, as well as many other movies. In fact, one that I'm going to be reviewing on one of my Rewind episodes called John Dies at the End, which is a great movie. It's really weird. And then the last name, excuse me, I had to write notes, is Justin Gordon. He was from the film Oculus. Alright, so first of all, basically what this is about is there's a place called Saipan, and this movie was a bit muddled, so I'm going to try to give you as clear and crisp as a review as possible on a movie that wasn't exactly explanatory on certain things. So apparently Saipan was a Spanish island of some kind, and during World War II the Japanese invaded it and took it over and had a bunch of influence on it. And like I said, there's not a lot. They were very vague in the description of what was going on and how this came about. So you have a group of, I believe, five people. You have a woman named Paulina who is in the market for, I'm assuming, either they purchased land, or they were going to purchase land that was actually originally sacred land called Gehenna, and they were going to put a resort on it because it was, by the beach, and it was beautiful and everything. And you have Dave, who is the cameraman, who looks awful familiar, but he's only been in this movie, so I don't know where I've seen him before. And you have, I believe the guy's name is Alan. He's your typical European jerk. That's how they portray him. And then there is Tyler. Was it Alan or was it Philip? I don't remember this guy's name. I don't remember that guy's name. I'm sorry. And then there was Tyler, who is obviously very much in love with Paulina. And then there's Pepe, who is a Hispanic. Basically, he's the, I can't think of the word, but he assists the European guy. He's his, I don't want to say worker, but employee, I guess. Anyway, so now that all that boring stuff is aside, this movie was unfortunately extremely predictable. I figured it out very quickly. Um, Not everyone will, but as soon I can't even tell you. Like they go in, they find a bunker. Here we go. They find an old World War II Japanese bunker, and they go into it. And there were these natives that were like praying in front of it, but they wouldn't go into it. And of course, you know, scary white people scared them off with their silly superstitions. And there's also this association with these two dolls that are tied together because they're bound. I'm assuming it's like husband and wife type thing. And the story is that there was a chief or something. Again, this movie doesn't explain a lot. It's very vague. And he had a wife, and the whole point of the dolls were they were bound. Well, what ends up happening is at the very beginning of the film, they cut the string between the dolls, and basically the guy is buried in Gehenna, I don't know what it's called, and his wife must now live on land. So it's sort of, and so apparently he cursed the area. So anyway, so there's this old war, I know I'm getting off subject, I apologize, this World War II bunker. It's been a long day. It's been a Monday. And so they all go down there. Excuse me. It's been a long day. They all go down there, and like there's this corpse that's, I guess you'd say corpse. It's like a living corpse more than anything else. Not a zombie, but very just gaunt, corpse-ish looking individual that's played by Doug Bradley, and he somewhat attacks them and says, you know, you must die or you will die or something to that extent. And so what happens is that he goes through and I apologize. I'll be right back. My dog is whining outside the door. Give me 1 second. Alright, sorry about that. I'm sure you may have even been able to hear him whining, but it breaks my concentration when he does that. So anyway, so Doug Bradley's corpsey creature thing attacks them, and he ends up getting killed. But not before saying, you know, you will die or you must die first or something like that. I can't remember exactly. So crazy stuff happens. They find other bodies. Excuse me. And they go through and gosh, I can't remember. Okay, so the lights go out. Okay, when the lights come back, oh, hold on real quick. So there were pictures that had fallen off the wall and things that were in disarray and so forth. There we go. And then when they wake up from the power being out, it's like everything is fixed. It almost looks new. Sorry, I keep bumping the mic. The pictures that were on the floor are now on the wall. Things are clean. There's not dust. Basically, it looks like it did prior. So that kind of gives it away what happened. Somehow they went back in time. I don't know. Again, that's not really a spoiler because I have to explain this movie to you so you can decide if you want to see it or not. I don't really recommend it. It was kind of boring. And I love Doug Jones. Wrong Doug. And Lance Henrikson, but this movie was kind of cool. So after the first like 10-20 minutes of the movie, you just turn it off because that's their parts right there. Anyway, so excuse me, Paulina apparently lost her son. She was paying attention to her at the time boyfriend. She was an adult at the time, and her 6-year-old son went out into the water and drowned. Dave, the cameraman, he was in a car accident with his sister, and his sister died. Somehow this was their fault, too. This is the weird thing. You don't find out anything about Dave in the car accident, except for he was in a car accident with his sister, and his sister died, and he felt really guilty about it, but he doesn't say why. Like, if and you actually don't find out why. So anyway, these people start having visions of the people that they lost. Dave seeing his sister, and Paulina seeing her son, and they hear voices, and Pepe starts acting really weird and like carving on his body. Now Pepe also didn't believe the superstition. He didn't, thought it was a bunch of crap. But then all of a sudden it was like he became possessed, and he is hog wild into this stuff. And they see a Japanese soldier comes in, but he's still alive. And again, it does, a good portion of this movie really doesn't make sense at all, and that's just how it is. It's like two time periods are almost happening at the same time. It reminded me a little bit of the movie As Above, So Below, but not as good. Just this little part where it seemed like they were going through time reminded me of that. So, like I said, everything is becoming chaotic. Some of the characters start getting bumped off, and stuff like that. And you're watching this film, and I'll be honest with you, I was somewhat tired when I watched this film, but I wasn't extremely tired. But I had a hard time not falling asleep during this film, because it did have its hot points. Sorry, I have my hair, and it's driving me crazy. There were points where it just dragged on, and I was like, oh my gosh, come on, kind of like how I'm dragging on right now, and how I probably drag on in some of my videos. So, yeah, so there's that. I tried to stay awake, and I did stay awake, but I honestly was so happy when the credits rolled, and I have, and again, I predicted within the first 30 minutes of the film, I figured out what was going on, and I don't like movies where I can immediately figure it out. Like, I don't mind if I do figure it out, but I want a little bit of a challenge. Like, this was just kind of like, here, we're handing you the answer on the plate. And maybe it's because I watched way too much of Tales from the Dark Side and Tales from the Crypt and Twilight Zone that I figured this stuff out, because they always had that twist. But regardless of that, this was a very predictable film. It was a very slow film. They probably could have cut 30 minutes out of this film, and it would have been perfect. It just dragged a lot. So anyway, the movie is Gehenna, something like that. I think it's Gehenna. It was from 2016. You can check it out if you want. It was not one of my favorites. If you have a spare, I think, hour and a half, and you have nothing better to do, you can watch it. The special effects are really good, but that's about as far as it goes. Again, it wasn't as good as I had hoped it would be. So, like the beginning said, if you like my videos and you want to see more, don't forget to like, subscribe, and keep in touch each week for more content. I know this seems a little shorter than normal, but I've got a lot to do today, and I'm really tired. So, you guys have a great day, and enjoy your weekend. Or this is a week. Enjoy the rest of your week, and I will check you later. See you next week. Bye.